Welcome to HBCU Her Voice, a place where we celebrate the powerful voices and stories of remarkable women from historically Black colleges and universities. I'm your host, Shanaja Washington, a proud HBCU graduate myself. I'm thrilled to bring you this platform dedicated to amplifying the voice of our community. We dive into inspiring stories of resilience, success, and the incredible impact these women are making in the world. From trailblazing entrepreneurs to innovative leaders, we bring you the stories that matter, showcasing how HBCU experiences shape paths and fuel passions. We'll explore challenges, victories, and wisdom. Whether you're an HBCU alum, a student, faculty member, supporter, or simply someone who believes in the power of diverse voices, we are so glad to have you. So listen up as we share insights, celebrate achievements, and uplift our community. Together, we can inspire the next generation of leaders and ensure our voices are heard loud and clear. A grand welcome to HBCU Her Voice. And just like that, I'm back like I never left. I'm your amazing host, Shanaja Washington, streaming from the beautiful city of Houston, Texas. And you already know where you are. It's the HBCU Her Voice podcast. And look, I know you guys see me all the time, but I actually have not been in the recording studio for quite some time. So I'm super happy to have this guest who's been working it out with me, getting this thing done last minute so that we can keep the content rolling and also to keep the knowledge rolling. So on any further waiting time, we're going to do our drill. She's going to come to the stage, tell us her name, where she's streaming from, which HBCU she's repping, and we jump right into that story. And here she is.
Well, thank you. I'm Monique A.J. Smith. I am coming to you from Hampton, Virginia, where I am a Hampton University graduate, class of Dynasty at Hampton University. We have class names, and I'm about to embark upon my 35th class reunion. So that's me. And hey, right now, I actually teach at Hampton University. I teach sports management courses. I'm an adjunct, but I do have my own business. I'm a leadership strategist for athletic departments, sport organizations, and individuals who wish to advance in athletic administration and sports management careers. All of my stops have been at a HBCU. I graduated from Hampton in 1990 with a degree in communications, worked at St. Paul's College for 8 years, worked at University of Maryland Shore for 2, and worked for the CIAA for 13 years. So I am truly a HBCU for life.
That means it's levels on levels on levels, because she said, look, I done made some stops here. I was at Hampton, I was at all these parts. So that's a great kickoff, and we get to always talk about the community and pride in our schools. So tell me about that difference in being the student and then coming out and having this lifelong career really dedicated to HBCUs. Tell us about that, and then really, you probably don't say Hampton is your favorite, but tell us about the experience kind of matriculating through that variety of HBCUs, because it's very important to me that we talk about that community building aspect, and you have it kind of on both sides. So we want to hear about that.
Well, HBCUs is very, very similar to the Black church, where you can get a chance to get on the stage and have encouragement and to build that foundation to get you ready for the real world. When you were in church and go like, go ahead, honey, go ahead, baby, we here. That's the same way a HBCU does for you to get you ready for the real world. I love the support. I mean, I don't mean just in the classroom. I mean, in the cafeteria. Any Hamptonian will tell you, if I say gravy, baby, they will know what HBCU you're talking about. And so, but to give you my love situation here. So Hampton actually gave my degree, embarked upon me. I was a communications major. I actually interned at BET, interned at a local TV station, interned with the CIAA, matter of fact, when I was a sophomore. But I will say it taught me how to take my education and have a career. Now, when I went to St. Paul's College, and I have to tell you, that would be the one that has my heart, because that is what really made me who I am. And St. Paul's College, unfortunately, is no longer a university operating, but I was there for 8 years. And I'm going to tell you, the bonds that happened at that school, a small institution in Lawrenceville, Virginia, one stoplight town, almost everybody knew each other. That is where I saw the whole point of the small institution being able to help a person become a gigantic individual at another institution. And I can say that because one of my freshman girls in 1991 is now the athletic director at Dillard University. And she was saying, she's actually my client. She was telling me, she was talking about creating the experience for the student athlete and telling her coaches that's her vision and that drives her decisions. And she said, it was funny because I think she forgot who she's talking to. She said, because that is what I had when I was a student athlete and I know the importance. And I was like, oh, because I was a part of that. And so that's what you want to do. And then at 28, I became athletic director at St. Paul's College. So it really, okay, I can't really say by default, but I had 5 different athletic directors. And the president said, okay, and this is the 90s. So there was very few Black women leading departments. I did have a woman athletic director to hire me 5 years previous. But again, she was 60 when she became athletic director. I was 28 when I became athletic director. And so for me, just to see those student athletes who, matter of fact, I was only 6 years older, basically, from the student from 91, but they never knew it because I carried myself in a certain way. And I think that's another thing to try to compare that is HBCUs, we have reverence, right? Yeah, it is Dr. So-and-so, Professor so-and-so, Miss so-and-so. And so we kind of have that, our culture says, you know, you can remember where you came from and you're going to be respectful for everyone. And that's a two-way street of the professor, the staff person is going to go an extra mile for you because of the level of respect for each other.
Oh, absolutely. And I can definitely attest to that because I really did feel that many of my professors were just as good as family. Right. They were actually curated me very personal spaces that today I can still talk about with so much pride. But the analogy that you gave was like a little church lady. You saying, go on, baby, go up there and do your speech. What a beautiful analogy, right? Because that's literally how it feels, though, because you have that person that's in your corner, like rooting for you. They want to see you succeed and be on that other side of greatness. So thank you for sharing that and putting such a fresh analogy around what our community really feels like. Now, I want to talk to you about sports management, excuse me. Talk about that. Was it always a passion for you? How did you kind of go into that career? And, you know, it's more common now, but even back then when you were doing, you know, sports management, it was taboo. So talk to us about how that became a part of your story and really what keeps you so connected to being in the sports management world.
Well, when I was in high school, I was SGA president. And I also was a writer. So my English teacher said major in PR. And so as SGA president, you know, I'm planning activities and whatnot. So I'm from a small town. I'm from Waverly, but I'm from the county of Sussex. So it's 4 counties making up, 4 towns making up a county. And so imagine the only time we really got together was for a sporting event. So the sporting event brought the community together. I just happened to go to school with Tony Massenberg, who ended up going to Maryland. And he was a freshman when Lynn Bias was a senior. So I believe that telling human interest stories will drive people to watch a game. And this is a high school thought process. So I go to college and I'm the only woman writing sports stories because this comes to me naturally because I've been keeping score since the 8th grade. So keeping a score during the 8th grade, analyzing the game, telling the players, okay, you had a percentage of doing so-and-so when you were standing here, if you had your feet too far apart, or, you took 2 dribbles to the left, all of that. That's just been me all along. And so just so happens that the CIAA had a January of 1988 had a sign a bulletin board looking for PR interns. And I said, oh, I can do that. And sure enough, I was one woman with 3 guys. There's 4 of us. Okay. And it didn't intimidate me because I knew what I knew. And what I was doing what I was doing since 8th grade. I was uploading stats. And I got a chance to pick the player of the week and the coach of the week. And but fast forward, I majored in communications. Could be a reporter, but I liked being able to control the narrative of a entity, right? To getting to promote a person to where they wanted to be, which in that case is like all conference. So if I can be able to promote your accolades or whatnot, or create a human interest story so that when it's time to vote for all conference, people will remember you and come up with that slogan. And matter of fact, the young lady who's the athletic director at Dillard University, when she was a senior, I did a campaign for her. Her last name was Bale. And so we did and she played all 4 sports: basketball, volleyball, softball, and one other. Softball, basketball, volleyball. I know she ran track. That's what it was. And so we got 3 balls. And so she has the balls with her prom dress on, and she's the belle of the ball. Now, will you forget that? No, you will not forget that. And she did make all conference in all 3. So that to me, and I just do the same thing with my clients now. So when I went to CIAA, I was the PR director for the CIAA, got hired a young lady, was trained by the same person I was, so I could move up to the next level. She's a Hamptonian, 10 years my junior. She became the PR person. I became director of championships and eventually director of governance. And I was there for 13 years helping. And because I served on a lot of NCAA committees, I was able to be exposed to how the experience should be for a championship beyond just the basketball tournament, which is what everybody thinks about. And then I was able to add some sports and add some entities. So to me, again, that PR part, and then being exposed to how do you enhance an experience for a student athlete, because of a person with a great experience is somebody who keep coming back with their dollars, or sending a student to your institution. That becomes your human interest story, your mouthpiece for you. And so, when I left, I just continued on as a consultant.
I absolutely love it. And of course, me back here, I love stories. So when you said human interest, we in this communication realm. We gonna tune in a little bit because we love those pieces that connect. So when I'm talking to most of my client base, they're women. I'm like, where's your story? What is your signature story? Let's forget all of the other stuff, the accolades. Tell me about you. Tell me about some things. When we start to work through that, Miss Monique, that's when the transformation happens. Mm-hmm. So that human interest piece always piques me. And I love to work with clients, especially women, on pulling out that story and really, really using it as a connection and a bridge to whatever it is their cause is, mission, et cetera, et cetera. So thank you for that. Now, I know that you touched on this a bit. So Seeds of Empowerment, when was the idea to say, okay, now I'm going to go ahead and go into this consultant phase? We kind of went through a little bit. You said you had been doing all these things. And, at the end of this, you said, okay, well, now I'm going to have this consulting firm, Seeds of Empowerment. Number one, where did the name come from? Why that? And then number two, what was the final aha moment that I am going to go out and create something based on this expertise? The reason why I asked you this is very strategic, is because there's so many women out there that have so many skills, that have so many resources that can actually be packaged into something. And it sounds like what you've done, Miss Monique. I'm back here watching. Seems like what you've done is that I see you. I see you. And that's what you've done. So I want you to talk about that process, because sometimes, people will sit on all this knowledge and think, well, I can't do it. I can't start. You have enough to start. So speak on that, please.
Okay. So at the CIAA, I began to have staff retreats for the women in the conference. And I kind of covered why I did that in an anthology where I cover my athletic administrative journey. And the name is called publicfiguremass.com is the name, is what name of my chapter is. And so here's the thing. I had a wall literally and figuratively within my career and my personal life. And I said, and I had I had a car accident. I hit a wall literally and figuratively. And I wish I had died, then face my boss to let him know I just totaled the company car. And I said, that's not normal. That's not normal. So I went to therapy. And so my point for that is that this is my story, which is the part that you say, this is how it all starts. So when I went to therapy, she said, you need to be around other women like yourself. And I said, well, there aren't. This is the 90s. Having a senior women's administrator over athletic department is the whole point of being a first. It's pressures that we're not familiar with, and we become depressed. And so she helped me work through that. But when she said, you need to be around other women like yourself, I began to create community and have retreats. So in the retreat, I hired a facilitator. And one of the assignments was, what would you do if money wasn't concerned or nothing, you didn't have any concerns? And I said, this is ironic. I said in 2003 that I would want to become a consultant. And they said, what was your concern? And I said, health insurance. Well, guess what? In 2013, I got my pink slip. And I was married. And my husband put me on his health insurance. And so I had been a consultant since 2005. People want to know how the number of women that were sitting in athletic directors positions coming from the CIAA became a big phenomenon. What do you all do? And so I got invited to come do workshops, mostly for Division III institutions, those that were trying to mobilize the women in their conference. And what it is to be able to build confidence. And you give confidence, you can't think about it, you have to do it. And so I would put women over championships, and I would be there. Okay, this is how you address this. This is how you talk to the coaches. This is how you do this. And so when a conference gives you some type of leadership, your institution's got to respect you. So most of the women that you know that have or currently Virginia State, Winston-Salem State, North Carolina Central, I just told you about Dillard, Johnson C. Smith, all these women came through the training that we did, and I just took it nationally. And so in 2014, I began having a podcast. I've had a podcast for 11 years, and it's highlighting Black women in athletic administration. Because in my role, I would see people talking about, I got this job opening, and they said, I want to have minority. Who is the top person? So-and-so. So I was always the person people came for resources. So I was like, okay, let me help that continue that on, because just because I didn't have this title and this role, I still had the influence. And so that is how, and I keep trying to tell people now, yes, you can become a consultant, but you got to be known for something. So that's when I started the magazine. It's about your intellectual property. How do you take your intellectual property? Because even if you've been in more than one institution, your steps of attacking a problem is in your head. And that's your intellectual property. The program you created and the name you created for the program belongs to the institution. But the steps you took to correct something, that is yours. So I do staff retreats. Because again, by being athletic director 28 and now 57, there's not too many issues that I have not encountered and not be able to help you with those steps. I do student athlete workshops. Leadership is my thing. I do executive coaching. I have a sitting ADs who have some issues. And that right now, I could just tell you some strange things. You're gonna be like, what? Yeah. So this is how you address this. This is how you strategically say this. And then the part I love the most is my Advanced Academy. Every third Sunday, we have a mastermind, and we share wins, and then we share concerns. And it's not just me they get other women who are on this path to advance in this very male-dominated career.
Yeah, that was a fire segment. So a couple things. All right. So a couple things from that segment now, Monique. The first thing she said out of her mouth that in 2003 she was going to be a consultant, right? And she was like, what was that thing? And she said the health insurance. So let's be real. So I didn't leave. I'm still new, right? I left corporate in 2021. And that was the biggest thing, Miss Monique, that probably held me there longer than what I probably should be. Because I was like, oh, I got this baby, and what are you going to do for insurance and all this? So I just kept going through the motions of being miserable in a place that I did not want to be. Because that was a barrier for me. That was like on top of the list. It was that, right? And then, okay, well, how am I going to find a role? I worked so hard in this particular role. If I go and find somewhere else, am I going to find someone that pays me the commensurate pay? I'm going to have, it was all of these things. But then guess what? Miss Monique said I had a breakdown. I hit a wall. I hit a wall, then I got a pink slip. So in that, I thought about my journey. I think about so many women that are sitting there waiting on the opportune, the perfect time, thinking there's nothing to package, but here sitting and hearing your story and thinking about, no, come on with it.
Okay, so there's the timeline. So the car accident happened in 2002, all right? The retreat happened in 2003 when I said what I do. But I want to be clear that my career soared after I went to therapy. Okay. And so I began to get a lot more opportunities at work and nationally and whatnot. It wasn't until they changed leadership in 2015 I got my pink slip, which became my pink bow, because I am so loyal that I would not have left on my own.
But wait a minute. Go back. You say the pink slip. It wasn't a pink slip. What was it?
It became a pink bow. Became a present.
Don't wait a minute, Miss. Don't tread over there, because she didn't just say something. It started. No. She said that the pink slip was a
pink bow.
Okay. Because I feel the same way, because if I had not got to it was a little bit different for me, of course. But if I hadn't got to that place of just getting tired and saying this is it, I would have been still tinkering, just trying to make it work. I would not have left just naturally on my own. Had everything just been going as planned, on track, on schedule, still climbing the ladder, I wouldn't have left.
That's right.
I wouldn't have left. So I want you guys to catch that from that segment. That was a good segment, Miss Monique. I can't wait till I go back and chop it up, because you probably tell these stories so often. She just sitting there smiling and going on, and she dropping gems. but she dropping real life gems, though, that so many of us need to hear and act on. So it's been a run, Ms. Monique. It's been a beautiful run. You've done some beautiful things. I love all the touch points that you do with infusing leadership. Tell us about what's next. What does Miss Monique want next? What is she thinking about for that next phase?
That's interesting. Because I guess if I put it out there, I got to do it. All right. So let's see. The Advanced Academy came out of a real life, real in person. I began to have retreats at my timeshare. But it became difficult because times and dates, and I put my deposit down and people didn't show up. I said, and then the people needed me. So I said, we're going to do these. And then Zoom came about. So we started doing, I think it was 2019, I believe we began to do it. But I do want to go back to doing in-person retreats. And so instead of using my timeshare, I'm going to use the second property that we have in Sussex County, in the country, on 40 acres. And so I'm going to go ahead and just go ahead and do it. So that's because I do travel. I just got back from Pittsburgh and Birmingham. So then when I do travel, I it seems that people really benefit because they do come to the events I have there. And so in person, to be able to serve more. And I will say one young lady just wrote a book, and she said, she just asked me for my address. She's I think 8-time athletic director of the year out of the state of Georgia, of a high school athletic director. And she said, she came to my retreat, I want to say maybe 2019, probably 2018, 2019. And she said that's what launched her, because at that time she didn't know what to do. So she went and got her PhD and began to cultivate the leadership piece. I think now she's been athletic director for definitely over a year, but the fact that she's been recognized with her peers in the state of Georgia is phenomenal. And I'm really glad that she says that. Again, my company is called Seeds of Empowerment. I believe in planting seeds of empowerment to lead others to greatness. It's because I'm from the country. Trees, my father cut down the trees to send me to college. Both of my parents are school teachers. My mother was a librarian. My father was an English teacher. I believe seeds are reeds. Books are seeds that are planted with you, that you take root with you, will help you reach your desired destination. And more importantly, I want people to realize leadership is also growth. And growth is often uncomfortable. And it does take something to grow, if you know what I mean. If you're from the country, you know exactly what I mean. So that uncomfortableness is required to grow. So when you think about me, yes, I don't have athletics in my piece. I want you to see me. I want you to think about leadership and personal and professional development.
Oh, what a rewarding feeling to have someone come back and say, you launched me. I didn't know what to do, but being under your leadership, that's when you really get that seed watering, right? That's when you get that you getting what you reap, right? You're getting that reap part of what you sow, basically. And that's such a beautiful thing, Ms. Monique. So I have to say that. Let me ask you this. Is there anything that you would have changed about your journey? I often kind of reflect and say, and I do this. I mean, we can't change it, right? But it also, too, lets me understand growth, right? Because now I have a different mindset to say, maybe I wouldn't have made that decision, right? So that lets me kind of see that stretch in some situations. It's not to be in a place where I'm just, I'm harping on it, because we can't change it, right? It's the past. But there are things I definitely reflect on it, and those actually come through my teachings. Because if I can go back and do those reflective things from where I've learned to rise, I can pour that back into the soil, right? So is there any big lesson or aha moment from your career? It doesn't even have to be in the career, it could be from the personal space. Is there anything you'd be like, if I would have just played that card a little bit different, this may have happened, and this is maybe something that I encourage others to do?
Well, I don't say necessarily different per se. That's why I set out what I said about therapy, because I can see where women are in positions and they're hitting walls and don't realize it. Because again, depression looks different for a person, a high achiever. It doesn't look you sitting in a corner crying. It looks as if you keep your calendar so busy that you don't want to feel. You really don't want to go home because you don't want to come home to an empty house. You can't find your keys. You bite people off like nothing. And if you're going to be in leadership roles, most of the time, especially if you can be athletic director, you're not going to really have a great time of creating a program or a vision. You're managing people. And when you're managing people, you got to be able to make good decisions, and you got to be able to lead yourself first to be able to see what other people are. And so for me, I would say I've always been a high achiever. I've always been worried about how everybody else is seeing me. And when I reflect back when that was, I actually stuttered when I was in high school, and I wasn't able to speak at graduation. And I know why now, because I was really concerned with people and seeing, because again, if both your parents are school teachers, you've been on Front Street since the day you could walk. Okay. So every teacher thought they were my parents. I could do no wrong. All right. So I gotta achieve. So when I go to college, I didn't party until the last week of graduation. And that's what I would have changed. I would have enjoyed the 4 years of somewhat being a student. And I can tell you, I can see it in my students now. And I'm like, okay, take a breath. Don't be so concerned. Feedback is nothing. A loss number, feedback. And feedback is just what it is, data. Take it and go and do something better, because I'm telling you, you're going to burn yourself out. And one young lady, it has its pluses. I got one young lady that just graduated during the pandemic. Girl, she just started with the LA Lakers. Okay. Before that, guess who she was with? The Golden State Warriors already got a ring. Okay. So, and everybody's like, how did she do that? The girl just da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Right? And I still say to her, yes, go get that. Go get that. But you're going to have to take a deep breath, because you're going to hit something, literally or figuratively. And that's why I tell people, when you want to go up the mountain, up the ladder, spiral up the mountain. Don't go straight up, because when you go around, you can enjoy all 4 seasons of life. Because I'm telling you, you get up that mountain and you look around and there's nobody there. And you're like, is that all it is about? Is this, why'd I do all this? So that is where I can't say regret, because if I hadn't gone through it, I couldn't tell somebody else. But I'm trying to make sure other women, other leaders, other high achievers realize that you may not have it all, just may not at the same season. Because it takes 4 seasons for the world to rotate.
Now listen, Miss Monique, I always tell people this podcast actually be more for me, because I always get confirmation and words, and I'm in the back. Look, I'm in the background like, no, why I asked her that question? No, I'm asking it because when you were saying it's something I needed to hear. Because and I have a similar story. Like in college, I was not around. You've seen me either studying in the lobby or in the library. I did not do any. It just wasn't my nature. Okay, I'm kind of a bookworm. But even now, I am like the most comfortable place for me, even with doing this and getting out and building a brand. The most comfortable place for me is going to be in the book in my bedroom. It took a long time for me to get to this space. Like if you even before 2019 or 2020, if somebody would have said, "But Shanasia Washington be hosting a podcast," I'm like, that girl. No way. It's taking work, but even transitioning from like corporate, where I didn't have any error, like I didn't have any room for error. I was held to, I didn't have any peers that looked like me. I was just held to be, who I had to be. I'm going to leave it at that.
You were the standard. And so you couldn't let society down, because if you faltered, no one else would be able to replace you.
So that was enough, and already being like the high achiever and doing all these things of that sort. So when I transitioned from corporate to building this thing, even though I was like free from them, I wasn't free from the grind. Like I couldn't, I wasn't free from the grind. Like this is what I know how to do. Like even though I'm over here, I'm still very structured. If I say I'm going to get 25 tasks done before I close my eyes, 25 tasks going to be done, Miss Monique. And that's just how it's going to go. And that's just where I'm transitioning to kind of, I'm barely starting to get into, okay, like you said about that mountain going around, I am starting now to understand that journey and understanding where to stop and pause, because it's not easy to do that.
You have to be intentional. You have to be on manual and not auto. And you can't allow people to define what success is for you. Seek significance, because that is something that you will do and leave for others. Absolutely. So that was a timely message. I'm like, okay, Lord, I was just
I needed to hear it, but I'm in the back like, no, why she had to come for me? She talking to me specifically, and I'm gonna go ahead on to be accountable and take this information and make sure that I'm being, like you said, intentional, really with my time. Because sometimes it's still, even to this day, gets hard with all the competing priorities. Now, Ms. Monique, we cannot leave without you telling us how to get in touch with you, whether that's the website, social media, whatever you want to give for contact information. Please provide that now.
Well, I like to talk on LinkedIn. That's the place I like to visit. So find me, Monique A.J. Smith. If you like to purchase the book that I mentioned, you can go to our store, seedsofempowermentstore.com. It also will have the magazines. And my podcast is chatinthegarden.com. Chatinthegarden.com.
I absolutely love it. Now, this is the part in our show we cue over to you for final thoughts. I tell my guests that, somebody may just skim across this, but if they only catch this one thing, I want you to give them some final parting words for this space and something that really captures the essence of Monique A.J. Smith. Over to you for final thoughts.
Well, I believe that we all have some value. And so you can take my motto, planting seeds of empowerment to lead others to greatness. And when you do that, you won't necessarily see what grows. You might not be here for it, but someone else will be able to benefit from what you planted.
Absolutely. I want to thank you, Ms. Monique, for being here, for blessing me on today with your presence, for all of your expertise, for just your wisdom, the air about you, and everything that you brought to this episode. I don't take it lightly. I want to tell everybody else in the HBCU Her Voice podcast land, miraculous things happen when you use your voice. I will never leave without saying I love you, and I'll be back in really no time with another amazing woman on the HBCU Her Voice podcast.